Thursday, March 7th, market analysis, Stan Ehrlich. So I start out with the stock market indexes always, and the spider has made new historic highs. But we were overbought a few days ago. We had a one-day downside correction. Today's Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday this week. And now we're popping into new high ground. If this is going to continue to go up, we should close above the previous rally high, excuse me, which we are sitting at almost exactly right about now. So what we want to see, if you are expecting a downside correction, and I am, is a slippage into the close, maybe a lot, although certainly doesn't look like it at this moment, in order to have a bearish engulfing. We were overbought 3 days ago, and that's within the realm of my look back period. So I'm basically waiting for a bearish engulfing to get a signal. Now, the fact that we have a new high, and if we don't have a closing price above previous highs, that could start something bearish. But that's a kind of a mild method of doing it, not what I would call super dependable. I much prefer the bearish engulfing, which again does not look like it's happening today, but I would not feel comfortable going long at this price at this time, given the situation. I'm looking for sell signals, and I do expect it to come back into this green support area, which is down to 503 to 497, but that is a very minor downside correction, and I don't think that's going to be the end of it if I do get the correction I'm expecting. I think there's a very good chance we could drop all the way down to 478, the December-January trading range. Next chart. The 1 minute on the spider. As you can see, we're up there very close to the highs so far today, and hanging in there extremely good. By the way, on yesterday's recording, I talked about the market coming up and closing the gap, which is that yellow dotted line, dashed line. It did so just after I started my recording, and did exactly what I wanted it to do, start to work its way back down. But it didn't follow through. Excuse me. We didn't even make a new low for the day. Came super close. But, I got to hand it to this market. Trend is your friend. Don't fight the trend, although my expertise involves looking for turning points. So that's what I do. And I feel very uncomfortable going long at this point, and I am looking for a turning point back down again, and you know why and how, etc. Next chart is the E-mini. For all practical purposes, we've got the same situation. Minor new highs for the trend. Overbought conditions in the most recent days, and prime situation for an outside down day. Now, the low in the E-mini is just a little bit above yesterday's low. And remember, that's because it's a 23-hour trading day instead of 24, instead of 6.5 like the spider. Starts at 6:30 a.m. and goes to 1 o'clock California time, Pacific Standard Time. So it'd be a lot easier for the spider to make a new low, but still not close. Next chart. We've got the 1 minute E-mini. It's right up there, but it's stalling out a little bit at the moment. Now that could be just before it goes skyrocketing again, or it could be building a little bit of a top. I don't know. I can't tell. It's not developing quite the way I would recognize things at this time. So I'm waiting for some significant sell signal or indication the indexes are heading south. Next is the QQQ. It's very close to making new highs for the trend, but not quite there yet. So maybe double top, maybe. Keep an eye out. The 1 minute Qs, same situation. And I've got a little line here I drew, very close to making higher highs, but not quite yet. So possible double top. Now I've also added the NASDAQ futures contracts, same situation as the triple Qs. They're basically father and son or mother and daughter, whatever, and very similar, except for that fact that they trade a lot longer, 23 instead of 6.5 hours a day. We do have a engulfing today in the NASDAQ futures. That means if it closes below the previous close, you would have a bearish engulfing. But look at the RSI at the bottom here. We did not get overbought in the last several days, came pretty close to it. The last time we were overbought was February 9 and February 12 over a weekend. And then a few days later, we had a sell signal within the allotted amount of time. That's true with my strategy ER signals. So we actually did get a signal right there. And for 3 days, it was a good trade. Next chart, NASDAQ futures and the 1 minute. So we're just essentially going sideways here in the last several hours. So got to keep an eye out on this, all of them for that matter. Here's the Russell. I've added it today. It did make minor new highs for a couple of years on the daily data chart, but I wouldn't call that holding very well. And I want to do it right there and slide this to the left. It is just a little bit higher than where it opened. And I'm looking for this to also start to head south. But we did make a minor new high, but it's not holding at the moment. And the Russell 1 minute chart also, as you can see, it was very early in the morning session that it made the higher high right there. And then it slipped back and going sideways. Now, bonds. Currently overbought today for the first time. And it's been ever since February 1st that it was overbought the last time, and February 2nd. So a month and a half. That topped out in overbought conditions on the bonds. Now, granted, it was only a couple of days of overbought condition. So now it's set up for a new break, which could be one of the reasons why the indexes start to slip as well. I'm not bearish. I'm looking for a test of the lows that we had a couple of weeks ago, and frankly, a little bit of a new low, but maybe only by a point or so. I'm really bullish intermediate to long term. I just don't like to say I'm bullish when we've got an overbought condition, and I really think it's going to come down for a few days and maybe a week or two. Same thing, almost exactly, for the 10-year notes. Very close to overbought, but touching resistance. So, prime target for a downside correction. Next, crude oil. And I must apologize. Ninja Traders Connecticut has a problem with my data feed today. And after this YouTube show, I'm going to have to contact them and make some corrections. So my strategies aren't running on the ICE futures contracts and maybe one or two others, but this is crude. Mostly it's the New Yorks and regular bar chart. But I can say resistance is stopping it so far. I expect it to show a reversal soon and turn down. Now again, same problem here, regular candlestick chart, not my strategy. And it's come up quite a bit today, popped up pretty good near the high and last green body, and at a little bit of resistance from the highs in the last week or two. But the big resistance is higher up in here, while the significant support is down here, and we're pretty much right in the middle. So I'm waiting for signals. Also in the natural gas, same problem with the data feed. Down quite a bit today. The top of the resistance, the top of the support area, which is by itself a little tiny bit of resistance, but not enough to stop it from breaking through. The big point is, at these price levels and a little bit lower, of course, we ended up bottoming out back in December and recently in general. So I don't know if we're going to make a new low for the trend unless it starts to break below support, and that would be below 1.8. On the other hand, even though we're, 1.8 and a half, so to speak, at the moment, I really wouldn't be surprised if it would jump right back to 2 and a little higher for a bullish breakout intermediate term. So this is a little tricky right now. At support, neutral RSI. Let's see if it can turn around. No trade recommendations or ideas at the moment. Unleaded gas, same problem. It's in a resistance area, but it looks like it's having a lot of trouble here. So I'm looking for new lows soon for the last few weeks. Then I'll be a lot more optimistic that we're going to see new lows for longer and longer and longer time frames. Next, gold. Boy, oh boy. It gapped up this morning. It's at 91, I believe, and change for the RSI, which has been a very long time frame since we have seen 91. In fact, I've got to go back to this spike high, February 25th, to see a 91. And that was caused by this rally down here all the way up to that spike high up there. Now, this got very, very high on that new high price, but the rally wasn't quite as big and as strong in momentum, etc. So RSI didn't quite get the 99. The whole point here is watch out. 99 is rare as a snowball in hell, and this means we are probably, no guarantee, about to turn back down at any time. Today, maybe. Next chart. Overbought in silver. Got the same New York quote problem. Now, these are today's quotes, but I'm having a trouble with the indicator. So, looking for a top in copper, silver also, because of the overbought condition. Gold is going to be the reason why, and it's going to drag it down with gold, I expect. Next, platinum. Basically same reasons, although this is lagging behind. It's not even overbought. So it actually could be a little independent and rally up a little bit more. Support did hold it, and we are now out of that, up and making new highs for about a month and a half or so, but nothing tremendously bullish. I do like, and I want to make a statement here about this support area going all the way back to October and actually back to June of 23. So that's a pretty powerful support area. It won't surprise me if we come up here and bang against 970 and maybe even 1020 again. Next, high-grade copper. Barely touched resistance today. Still relatively close. Might even work its way into it a little bit. But I'm looking now, we're very close to, I think, a turning point back down again. Close to overbought, almost in resistance, touched it, but not staying there at the moment. I think we're close to a turn back down in copper, but not quite yet. Next, soybeans, Board of Trade grains, Chicago. So used to work in the Board of Trade 13 years. Was it 16, 13? Probably 13 years. And even before the CBOE, the options exchange was built by lowering the ceiling on the original very tall ceiling Board of Trade floor, where I was a runner, 1971. All right, resistance is stopping it again. This time it's staying relatively firm at the bottom of resistance. I see nothing wrong with a little bit more of a rally. I just kind of thought we were heading on the way down to a new low yesterday, but we managed to hang in there and it popped back. I've got no new signals, unfortunately. I'm looking for a lot lower and very soon. Not quite sure how much more strength we just might see, but I don't think it's going to be much. And for soybean oil, same commentary. Support did hold. We got a false signal here, and I should explain quote unquote false signal. or failed signal. During the day, you can have, and we rarely do, but it happened in soybean oil a few days ago, all of the criteria necessary for the ER1 either buy or sell signal at that point in time before the close. Therefore, the ER1 signal would have caught and generated entry code, and we would have been long or short an ER1 scalp and or overnight trade during the day. But by the closing price, it failed to stay on the correct side of the previous close. That means net higher or net lower. And that kills the signal right up against the closing price. And therefore, any trade that still is on the book generated that same day, because for a while, it was a legitimate signal, but things reversed before the bell and we get out, probably with small losses. But there's a chance that there could be, and the probability is small losses, but there's a chance of a small profit. Anyway, no positions, rallying out of support. Maybe it'll go up some more. The big resistance area is really basically starting at 49.06, but it gets a lot heavier, just a little bit higher at 50.15. Next chart's meal. Now, we did get a legitimate signal in meal, and it was the bottom of the move. Now, every time you use a strategy that you acquire from somebody, they are usually offering you a default group of settings, assuming they've got a settings or inputs, same thing. And I do. So I kept my defaults here. You can, but you need to know what you're doing before you start fiddling with them. Make adjustments and stay in the trade longer, which may not be a good idea. Or stay in the trade less time by tightening up the way the STS stop moves. This is pretty much our default. And we did make a small profitable trade, nothing much. And you'll see the detail in just a moment. So I am looking for this market to rally a little bit, but basically all the grains are about the same. If there are bullish reasons, I just don't trust them. Too much is going on here lately that's bearish and not enough bullish evidence. Next chart's the meal 1 minute. You can see over here a couple of days ago, we're out of our trade. It lasted 2.5 days. That was it. ER1 overnight made a little money. ER1 scalp lost some money, and the net is a small loss, it looks like. Next chart is the corn. All right, I have now adjusted the stop. So it's a little bit looser than what you may have seen yesterday. Therefore, it did not get with this particular stop, which is a 25 kicker, and that's what we nicknamed the method of moving the STS. It's called a kicker. So the kicker is bigger than what you saw yesterday, and therefore moving slower, and therefore we're still in the trade. Otherwise, I would have gotten stopped out with a little bit of a profit, but now it's much better looking, and it's working very well with the larger kicker. Now, obviously, in real time, real life, you can't go back and change a trade that you offset. That would be nice. We'd all be billionaires or trillionaires, whatever. So that's not going to happen. But with this situation, I can, and I did, and I told you what I did. On the 1 minute chart, I've done the exact same thing. So I rigged it so that it came close to the stop, which did not get hit in this particular case. And the one overnight stop is a 25 kicker on both the 1 minute and daily. So we're still in the trade. We'll see what happens. Wheat. I stuck with the same numbers and all that good stuff. Wheat is just dropped to the bottom like crazy yesterday, and we've got more downside follow through today. So it's oversold, so I could rally in wheat a little bit, but I think it's going to stop at the resistance, which is at 553, and then turn back down again. We are slightly oversold, so at any time it could bounce back. But again, I'm really looking for sell signals or some kind of profound buy signal that I can use some more excuses to believe that it's going to be a big buy, but not yet. Also on the wheat, 1 minute. Actually, this is a 15-minute. You can see some of the previous trades the strategy has made. ER1 scalp did okay. ER1 overnight did better. Actually, a lot better because it sold out on extreme strength. ER3 just barely got in the nick of time and bought the exact low of the day to the tick. And that was on the date of February 23. But the next day it did make lower lows. It started to come back. I did not change the stop. I could have, and that would have raised it up high enough to make decent profit. But again, I'm trying to use the defaults without messing around. And this just kicked me out with a tiny profit. I think it was only a penny or something. And the ER3 scalp also made a very, very tiny profit right in here for just about 10 minutes before the bell closed, before it closed on that day. Oh, and by the way, it appears that I'm going to co-host the bar's closing, and that doesn't mean a liquor bar or, you know, an entertainment bar. It means price bar, the closing bars of the day for the 4 times in April next month. Hopefully it'll last longer than that, but I just wanted to mention it in this YouTube. I'll be co-hosting or hosting about a 45-minute trade Ninja Trader program called Bars Closing. I think it's about noonish or 1 o'clock, around that time, on one day of the week, and I'm not sure which day yet. I'm hoping for Fridays in April, but that could change. Next chart is the cattle. Now, we're still in this trade, and I made it so it's a long-term position trade, and it is an ER3 that we bought on the 3rd day, right there, after the signal day, right there. So we got in just in time. The kicker is slow enough that what's the kicker here? 17 kicker for ER3 overnight has managed to stay with this trade a whopping amount of time. We usually don't see trades that stay this long. I've mentioned before, the strategy can be adjusted very easily to accommodate intermediate to long-term traders. When I say intermediate to long-term, I'm implying longer than swing traders. So I'm implying a month or two on the short side of time to any length of time, 6 months, a year, 10 years, I don't know. A huge kicker number would make it move very, very slowly for the stop movement. Right now, so far so good. Almost making new highs for the whole trend, but I'm still worried about this resistance area, which has stopped it for now about 3 weeks. Doing it again. We're right there right now. So I got to keep a close eye on this. And in the hogs, we don't have any signals recently. We do have a minor double top. We did have a signal, but it lost very little, day trade loss. And it was a bearish signal, so didn't work. And we did make new lows back into support. Right now, support is interestingly holding for 2 days. Not much. And I don't think it's going to stay that way. The resistance area that we moved up to in the last couple of weeks is much, much more profound, much longer term. And I do think we're going to see it slip some more in hogs very soon. Next, New York orange juice. We got the daily data okay, the date's right. But again, the strategies aren't functioning because of data feed problem. This is a big pennant formation, and I'm looking for a breakout to the downside. Could be very bearish on orange juice. Cocoa, blow off top, double top now, starting to look a little bit more bearish. Minor new lows for a couple of days, but right about where it opened right this moment. Not really giving me a real good picture here, but I'm very concerned about the fact that you've got a double divergence RSI got officially overbought back in the mid-February on that move up. New high in price failed to make a new high in the indicator. That's your basic single divergence. But when you have another occasion of new highs in price right there 2 days ago, and you don't have a new high in the indicator, now you have a double divergence. Still a signal, indication, technical situation that implies the market's trying to turn down. And empirically, it looks to me like that's true, but you don't see too much evidence of it yet. Next chart. Coffee. Looking for a big move down, very large pennant formation starting, or well developed, I should say, and we're in the middle of it, so I'm waiting. No signals. Now, sugar. Good data for today. So this is the 6th. See, I'm not getting today's data on sugar. Not coming through for some reason. I got to fix that. But I don't think it's too much higher or too lower. I don't think. And yeah, I'm expecting it to top out and start to head south. Longer term trend down. And then we got cotton, the rag. There may be a significant large top forming. It could be a head and shoulder top. We might be making the last shoulder high in the next day or 2 or 3. Soon. Prices are right. Conditions are about right. Formation is not quite finished yet. Head and shoulders are my favorite pattern. The last one I saw that worked incredibly well was orange juice, but there have been a few others in the last couple of months. So this one is just on the threshold of potentially being a good or bad formation. We just need to see it stay about where it is, maybe a day or 2 more, or immediately or very, very soon start to head south without going up too much more. And finally, we're back to the spider. You guys know you can reach me at info@ersignals.com. Don't try to use the communication stuff in YouTube or LinkedIn or those other programs. Just email me at info@ersignals.com and I'll try to help you. Have a great day. Profitable trading to you. Mañana.